15, 20 years ago, people weren't doing property as much as they're doing now. It's much easier to get on the property ladder. 20 years ago was much more difficult.
I don't agree with that. I think financially it's harder.
The reason it's tough is because the mortgage market has opened up. Access onto the property ladder is much easier. More people are doing it. More people are investing. More people are moving into this space, and that's driving up price.
Access is easier, but the deposit is more expensive. So it makes it harder because what our parents were paying 20, 30 years ago, we're paying triple that now. There may be schemes, the barrier to entry is a lot higher. When it comes to property and I think wealth generation, it's a long game.
My nan, when she retired on a state pension. You're not going to be able to do that now. The opportunity is biggest, but the gaps between the haves and the have-nots is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Like the level of poverty that we've got in the UK is probably worse than it was back in those days.
Why do you think that gap is then widening?
Things like AI, I think, can be helpful but harmful. Helpful because you can literally create a business on your phone, but then on the other side of it, AI is making people lose jobs because they are easily replaceable now.
The widening gap is caused by the insane level of taxation in this country. And I'm telling people, entrepreneurship, don't bloody do it.
If I was to ask you for the best way for somebody to build wealth in 2026, what would you all say? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Atto. We have special guests in the building. We have 3 guests in the building where we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about property. We're going to talk about the stock market. We're going to talk about pension. And we're going to talk about entrepreneurship as well. So Ajmal, I've got you on my left, so I'll start with you. If someone was just discovering you, how would you describe what you do today and what you care most about right now?
I am a business geek. All I talk about is business. I've been involved in business my whole life. I run businesses, and that is my area of expertise, entrepreneurship and the difficulties of running a business.
Okay, and we're going to leverage a lot of your experience today around business because I know you're super passionate about it and you're also not so passionate about a few other topics.
Yep.
Julianah, how about you? Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome back to both of you, actually. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Julianah Owusu. I'm a property developer and investor, and I've been in property for 12 years now, and my passion is inspiring and teaching other people about property. I have gone from buy-to-lets and leveraged my property experience to go to HMO, service accommodation, conversions, and I use what I have learned to help people understand that they can also get on the property ladder and can start their journey too.
Okay, amazing. Thank you, Julianah. Ian, how about you? Welcome back.
Thanks. I'm Dempsey. I'm an IFA, coach, and a planner as well. And content creator. For me, I'm really passionate about helping people make better financial decisions right across the board. And there's a lot of information out there. I try to share it as openly, as honestly as I can and cut through the BS, the smoke and the mirrors that exists in financial services.
Yeah. Amazing. And this episode is going to come out in 2026. And, you know, you all, I'm sure, know what happened in the budget. We had a few rises in our taxes. So really, with this conversation, want to really help people think about what's kind of the best avenue to build wealth for themselves. So with that question in mind, with taxes rising, AI reshaping jobs, and the cost of living skyrocketing, do you think it's harder to get rich today than it was for our parents, or have we just lost focus? Anybody can start that question.
I can take this one. I think it's easier to make money during an economic downturn. And the reason being, when times are good, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. There's so many options for everyone to create wealth. But during an economic downturn, the skilled operators find it easier to make money.
Okay. So how does somebody be a skilled operator though in that kind of situation?
If you've got experience, so for example, 15, 20 years ago, people weren't doing property as much as they're doing now. Now there's so many property coaches, there's so many buy-to-let schemes, there's so many buy-to-let mortgages. It's much easier to get on the property ladder. 20 years ago, it was much more difficult. Okay. So now, in the last few years, it's everyone's trying to get on the property ladder. Prices are going up. It's just generally the access to the market is a lot easier, whereas back in the day, it was a bit more difficult. But the good news is, when there's an economic downturn, it's the skilled operators that will still be able to survive and thrive.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know if I do.
I think financially it's harder. Like we're doing this podcast in London. Like, how difficult is it for people to get on the property ladder in London? It's tough.
I think it's tough. Yeah,
really,
Absolutely.
really tough. Granted, there are areas of the country. I'm from Newcastle.
But why is it tough? The reason it's tough is because the mortgage market has opened up. There's so many more. It's so much easier to get it's so much easier to get 20, 30, 40, 50 year mortgages. Access onto the property ladder is much easier. More people are doing it. More people are investing. More people are moving into this space, and that's driving up prices.
But I think access is easier, but the deposit is more expensive. So it makes it harder because what our parents were paying 20, 30 years ago, we're paying triple that now. Inflation hasn't been adjusted according to the way things are priced up right now. So I think it's more difficult. There may be schemes, but the money you need, the initial outlay, the barrier to entry is a lot higher. So I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. What our parents paid as a deposit, if you look at it now, even inflation adjusted, it's way more. So I think it's different.
I agree with that part. But that's what I'm saying. Because everyone's now jumping on the property bandwagon, that's really boosting the prices. And now you've got BlackRock, Lloyds Bank investing billions of pounds into the housing market. They're going to snap up almost any property that's available. That's going to hyperinflate the prices again. So I think back in the day, if everyone's not in that market, the prices remain suppressed, and it's easier to actually get on the property ladder and actually make some money from that.
The only thing I would say is that I think the difference is the demand far outweighs supply. So irrespective of the times, whether it was 20 years ago or now, the government has not kept up with the number they promised us in every single budget of the amount of houses they're going to build. So because supply is so much lower than demand, prices will continue to hike up because there's just not enough houses. And I don't necessarily think it's because of the times and seasons. It's just because there is not enough houses for the people that need houses.
But I think that, like, planning laws have got really lax now.
Yeah.
And if you look at like something that's come out of the budget, certainly around where we are, like we've got a development happening literally right outside our front door. And between us and the next village over, there's planning permission in to build 1,600 houses, which will get signed off. Under normal circumstances, 2 years ago, not a chance in hell. But the way that it's changed is good transport links, access to London. There's a massive shortage of houses.
Absolutely.
There's affordable houses that aren't being built. The reality of it is those houses that are going to get built are not going to be for Joe Public. They're not going to be for the young families starting out. These are going to be probably snapped up by landlords to buy those properties at 300-400 grand plus and then rent it out. It's not going to be for the families that want to get on the property ladder and start. And I think if you compare it to Europe, like our property ownership in this country is like off the charts high compared to other countries. Other countries are happy to rent, but the rent's more sustainable.
Okay.
There's not the pressure to go and buy a house. Like it feels like there's such big pressure on us to buy houses and own property.
I agree and don't agree because rents are always rising because like I mentioned before, the demand is so high compared to supply. The rents will always be higher in comparison to mortgage rates. And I find a lot more people are buying together now. So I know what you're saying. There's a lot more houses that are being bought and new builds. There's always new build grants and help to get new builds. That's kind of the way the government is kind of phrasing it when it comes to their new schemes. They want it to be just for new builds. They don't really care about the old properties. So with the schemes that they're offering for new builds, I think it's a lot more easier to get onto buying properties with new builds as people who get married, as people who have partners, as siblings who are buying properties. So I don't necessarily agree that a lot of the new builds are going to be bought by landlords. I think they will be bought by couples just getting into the market that are moving from a flat to a house.
I don't think they can do that around where we live. I think that's impossible.
Impossible.
Whereabouts do you live?
Oh, like, I'm not saying I live in a really affluent area.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Like I'm in a village in Bedfordshire, right? But like the houses that are going up next to me, there's I might be wrong, call it 40 houses going up in this field. There's some social housing, absolutely, that's going to be social housing available at the lower end of the market. The others are like £500,000 plus houses, right up to 850 grand. That's not entry level.
No, that's not.
But then the houses
crazy.
that are going to come in the next development down, there'll have to be an element of social housing. There's another 2 developments in the village over. They're all big executive homes. These aren't like entry level stuff. And you think, well...
So they're not like typical cheap 3-bed
like,
townhouses.
Where are all... And like, we drive past them, like, I was talking to the other half about, like, where are these people coming from to live in these houses? Because that's not families that need homes. And we're talking about housing crisis in the UK and people not having ownership. Like, build the houses in the areas that need it for the people that want to get on the property ladder, not the 400, 500 grand executive homes, because that's unattainable for a lot of people.
Yeah. Do you see... Julianah, you mentioned demand being higher than supply, but can we ever see that going the other way. I can never see that going the other way.
I think the gap will never close.
Yeah.
But that's why we need investors and property investors to close the cap.
Okay.
To make houses that are available to let people rent. Because the government, they just will not meet the demand. Okay. They will not meet the amount that is needed to ensure that everyone has a safe, habitable home. So people like me come in, getting properties that are derelict, getting houses that so it's not necessarily getting a house and redoing it and making it look more shinier. It's getting an abandoned building, it's getting something that is not used as a residential and changing it to add to the house in stock. That's where I believe property investors actually are helping the economy rather than taking away from it.
How many houses are there that are sitting derelict though, just generally in any given average town in the UK?
This is the thing, I don't have a number for that, but there are so many abandoned buildings that can be changed their use to residential. There are pubs, there are offices that are derelict that are not being used that can be used for housing.
Okay.
And to be fair, I think it can only be like a property developer that can do something like that. The average person's not gonna. Yeah. Yes, people will do like fix it upper, but if it's something that's complex like that, it's unlikely, right? You're gonna have the skill to do that.
But that's where the BlackRocks and everything come in. Like they own these buildings. They will
buy big. They will
own like high streets and office blocks and a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And actually, they can just keep it derelict because they've got billions of pounds.
Yeah.
Let the property value rise over a period of time. And they'll be like, oh, actually, this tower block that we've got that was all ex-offices that sat there empty for such a long period of time. Let's chuck a few million quid at that now.
And charge you a ridiculous amount.
Exactly. For them, it's just
it's
return on investment. Yeah,
top, isn't it?
Yeah, they don't. Let me not speak for them, but I doubt that they care so much. So then, going back to the question, so do you think it's easier then to get rich from? It sounds like from the property point of view, Ajmal, it sounds like you believe that it's easier to get onto the property ladder now?
So I can speak from my own experiences. Before the buy-to-let mortgages, before everyone was jumping on the bandwagon, you'd have to set up a company. It was quite complex. You'd have to set up a company and then create accounts.
To get a buy-to-let?
And then show it to the bank account, and only then would they grant a mortgage. And not very many people were doing that. So you'd really have to be embedded in that space and really understand it in order to excel. But then fast forward 10 years from that point when everyone was buying buy-to-let, it was then much more difficult because when a property came in the market, it just got snapped up straight away. So I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. When the market was closed, it was easier to excel. When the market opened up and accessible to everyone, I found it more difficult.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, Julianah and Ian, where do you think in terms of like getting rich now versus previously? Do you think it was easier?
Similar to what I said when I first met you on the podcast. Everything when it comes to property and I think wealth generation, it's a long game. So I think when I first started in property, I bought property in 2014. 18 months later, it went up £60,000. So to me, that was like, oh my God, that's so much money in such a short space of time. That level of acceleration, I think, has slowed down. It has stagnated 100%. If I buy property today, I bought a property recently in Yorkshire. It was, I think, £120,000. That was about 2 years ago. If I bought it 10 years ago, in 2 years later, it would be maybe about 160, 140. Okay. Now it's like 125, literally gone up about £5,000.
Wow.
It's stagnated. But the reason I say that is because I know it sounds like it's harder for people to get into the market now, but there's also, if you look at the other perspective, they can get a property cheaper than they would have if the normal trajectory continued on the upward trend. Yeah. Historically, properties double every 10 years. That has changed, but if you hold on to a property in the long term when interest rates go down, because they will go down. Right now, everything is kind of in a bubble. Everything is really high. Interest rates are higher. Demand is low because people can't get onto the property ladder. People who are in the property space, they're very fortunate because if they hold, eventually the government will need to boost the economy. And how will they do that? Reduce interest rates, which will increase demand and more people can borrow to get properties. So if you hold on in 7, 8, 9 years, it will eventually go up to the trajectory it has been doing historically. Okay. So I do believe if you get property now or you are already in the property world, it will eventually go up.
Okay.
So it's harder, but if you hold, you will see the benefits.
Okay.
It's a long game.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to Ajmal's point of, I think that there was a conversation that it's not out yet, where they were talking about like business and margins and stuff like that. And I think what Ajmal says makes sense in the sense that like if it's like a bit more, if it's like one or two people doing something, you can kind of squeeze the profits. But then when it's like more 5, 10, hundreds, then it kind of, I suppose what I'm kind of saying is that return is diminished. It seems over time, and it sounds like from what your experience is like, obviously you had like good returns 10 years ago, but over time that return is
slowed down, but I know we'll get back to that level.
Okay. Interesting. Ian, what about you?
I think the opportunity is bigger than it ever has been.
Okay.
Like, the information and technology and AI, like you can put the right information in the right prompts and find the right information and build sort of business plans that we just couldn't have done 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But like if you reframe that, like my nan, when she retired on a state pension, you're not going to be able to do that now. Like she could comfortably live in a house. She lived in a council house. She could afford to put the bills on. She could afford to have food on the table. She could afford to like give the grandkids Christmas presents. All that. She had a great quality of life. Like you can't do that now. So I think to get rich is the opportunity is biggest, but the gaps between the haves and the have-nots, and Gary Stevenson talks about this all the time, is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Like the level of poverty that we've got in the UK is probably worse than it was back in those days.
You think so?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
And it's very interesting to sit on the other side of the fence. And I'll use one example. So my other half used to work for a national children's charity. And this is like literally 5 miles from where we live, probably even closer. And there's people there that kids are going into school hungry, can't afford to kind of have coats in the winter. They can't afford Christmas presents. They are kind of struggling on a day-to-day basis. That stuff's real, but we're just blind to it because we're heads down in the phones looking at all this great stuff that's going on in our country and how easy it is to become rich. And if you haven't got a Lamborghini, you're a failure. If you haven't got 15 houses, what the hell are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
Like that poverty still exists. Like, and with women, period poverty, like there are girls in school that can't afford basic sanitary products. Like
crazy.
how? That's crackers, man.
That's crazy, yeah. So it's so interesting. It's saying that we live in a time where we have the most opportunity, but yet the wealth gap is, and I think that wealth gap is widening because I guess maybe. Let me not assume, because I have my ideas. Why do you think that gap is then widening? What's your thoughts on that? Why is that happening? Although we live in a time where we have internet and opportunity.
Things like AI, I think, are really can be helpful but harmful. Helpful because you can, like Ian said, literally create a business on your phone because you know the demand, you know what's needed in whatever sector you're in, and it can absolutely go viral. When it comes to businesses, if you get ahead of the curve, for example, when COVID hit, if you were, for example, someone who made the face masks, you would absolutely be raking it in because you saw an opportunity before it got to that stage and you capitalized on it. But then on the other side of it, AI is making people lose jobs because they are easily replaceable now. When you needed someone to create something, AI now does it at the touch of a button.
Yeah.
So if you are able to understand how markets work and get ahead of it, I think you can absolutely thrive. But you have to be educated and knowledgeable in whatever area you're in, because if you're not, you will lose out on opportunities. And AI, for example, is taking away so many jobs right now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's benefiting.
Yeah.
If I talk about for example, me, when I'm back in the day when I used to go on a lot of viewings, what you can do is you can see a property, they tell you how much it costs, fine. If it's a derelict property, like what I was talking about, I want to get properties that I can actually add to the house and stock. That would mean I have to refurb it. That there about the refurb is the bit that I didn't know because I'm not a builder, I'm not a QS. But I now, in my own business in property, have actually introduced AI to help me. I've actually created an AI renovation tool to actually help people estimate the renovation cost, because that's the gap that they were missing. If you go to an auction, you would have to now try and book a QS, book a builder, book a decorator, someone to go with you so they can estimate your cost, because you may not know because you're not savvy when it comes to refurb cost. I've helped build something to get rid of that time, get rid of that kerfuffle, so you can actually estimate your cost. So you know before they hit the gavel and they say it's yours, you know what your purchase is going to be, you know what your renovation is going to be, and then hopefully you'll know what your GDV because you've done the research. Stuff like AI actually can help you in your business if you use it smartly.
Yeah.
So it really just depends on the person,
wow,
how
you're disrupting
they use it.
jobs already yourself.
I am. I've got to get ahead of the curve.
That's the problem, right? You have to. I mean, I use AI every day. So
and the builders will still be used after you bought it. But to estimate the costs, cut all that out.
Yeah.
and use something that will help you.
Okay.
So
Wow,
yeah, it's
that's
called
incredible.
RefurbMate.
Ajmal, what about you?
So the question was
Why do you think? Because Ian said that we've got the most opportunity
wealth gap.
ever, but why is that then? That wealth gap widening? Although we've got the most. I mean, we've got internet, we've got AI. You know, we can travel. If you've got money, of course, you can travel. And like, we got social media, but yet we've got widening gap.
The widening gap is caused by the insane level of taxation in this country.
Okay.
Okay.
I was listening
Insane,
to that.
insane level. I mean, if you're earning 40, 50, I mean, what are the levels of tax? If you take any business, they actually pay more to the government through VAT, corporation tax, PAYE, business rates, you name it. They pay more to the government than they actually earn for themselves. And that's an injustice, and that until that's corrected, we will never be able to sort of have a sort of market where businesses are really thriving. It's nearly impossible to run a successful business these days. And I'm telling people, entrepreneurship, don't bloody do it.
Really?
Don't do it. It's now getting more and more difficult. In the last 4 or 5 years, I've just noticed it's got more and more and more difficult. And the bad news is, it's never going to improve, because the government, it doesn't matter if it's Reform, Labour, Conservative, whoever's in charge, they've got to service the £1 trillion mortgage that we've got, the £1 trillion debt that we've got. And that's like billions of pounds, £5 billion per month goes to paying the interest only on that mortgage, or on that debt, if you want to call it that. So I think the level of tax, I can't see it coming down any soon. And until tax cut doesn't come down, I don't think anyone's life is going to get much easier.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really difficult because with the budget that was released, everyone obviously was in uproar about the extra taxes, but I'm not sympathising with them, but they're in between a rock and a hard place. They need to fill this gap, this black hole gap that they've created. How else are they going to do it if it's not taxes?
What? I mean, Laura Kunisberg, right, ripped into Rachel Reeves on, I mean, Laura Kunisberg or somebody else ripped into her in an interview to say, actually, the deficit that you kind of projected to the British public was false.
Yeah.
So it's on so they've projected this massive deficit, which actually wasn't correct. So that allows the government to then exert pressure on us. If anybody watched the budget and you want to see where the issues are, just look at the behaviour in that room where the Chancellor of the Exchequer, first of all, as Chancellor of the Exchequer, second of all, as a woman, is in a room with men leering and shouting and screaming at her like school kids. That is just bullshit. The reality is, I agree with Ajmal 100%. We're in a massive tax hole, and I kind of did some research on the way down. It's the corporate space that needs to start paying their fair share. Look at these multinationals, Amazon, Starbucks. I estimate like there's 10 companies that operate within the UK at a multinational level that are responsible for £6 billion of tax that could be coming in.
Really?
So if you split that between 6 kind of different resources, you could fix junior doctors and have enough people within the UK to do that. You could fix the nursing crisis. You could fix the housing crisis. You could fix the education crisis. You could make sure that elderly people have got social care and they've got winter fuel payments. But these countries can negotiate a tax rate or say, well, actually, we've got an office in Monaco. 9 times out of 10, it's just an office address. It's not actually a Starbucks massive multinational headquarters.
It's not operational.
And run it all through that and say, do you know what? We're not going to pay your corporation tax. Let them, like my view on it was, let them go. Let them go.
Okay.
Because what that then happens is we'll have pizza chains and we'll have UK coffee shops and independent ownership feeding the UK economy and bringing that all back and paying the right level of tax. Not middle Britain, not hardworking families, not individuals like us that are feeling the pinch.
Yeah.
And that had this real squeeze from the budget.
Yeah.
And that's why people are leaving as well, the country, because there's no benefit. Everything you're doing, you get taxed. You get taxed if you breathe. You get taxed if you buy a house. You get taxed if you die.
Yeah.
So it's...
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I just heard Atto laugh there. When you breathe, you get taxed. Do you know that's actually true?
Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. So businesses have to pay something called the climate change levy. They pay that through their utility bills. So you might laugh that you get that you get taxed for breathing.
That is crazy.
That is actually true. You get taxed for breathing in this country. I do seminars all over the country, right? And I used to say, the only thing you don't get taxed for in the UK is for walking. And someone put up their hand like 10 seminars in and said, there's actually VAT on shoes. So you do get taxed for walking.
Tax everything. Right? Everything.
Imagine being taxed for walking and breathing. That's the stage we're at now.
I think it gets worse before it gets better.
I was going to
I genuinely think it gets worse. Like, I don't think reform are the answer either, and I don't agree with a lot about what they're about, but I think they're radical enough to shake up the political system in the UK.
It does need switching up.
And I think that's what needs to change, to drive change at a very top level to then pull that through. But actually, loads of people get into politics for the right reason, to make change and all the rest of it.
How much power have Reform got, or will Reform have when they're in power? Are they going to be able to do anything about the trillions of pounds, or the 1.2 trillion pounds worth of national debt that needs the monthly repayment paid every single month? The answer is no. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which political party is in charge. We still have to pay all of this tax to service the national debt. And that national debt, I'll tell you now, is never going to come down because it's designed to never come down.
Yeah, it's the game that they play in, where that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because how do we navigate? At the end of the day, I think it's good for people to understand this, because that is the game. So how do you, there's not much you can do. We can't do much about, who they tax and, what they put up. Of course, we can lobby and do all that stuff, but in the grand scheme of things, there's not much we can kind of do. So how you
can vote with your feet. You can vote with your feet and stop buying.
But they kind of all do the same thing, though. If we're realistically looking at it, it was Conservatives and now it's Labour. When it was Conservative, people were complaining.
Yeah.
It is Labour, people are complaining.
The tax system.
So it just shows me that it's not. It's not different. It's kind of
divide and conquer, isn't it? Like, we're
easy. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if So I studied a law degree, right? And so I went to a case when I was a student. And what was so interesting to me, what was so striking, so there was two, like, one was a prosecutor, one was a defense. Obviously, they were going at it in the court. And then after, they were all buddy afterwards, all laughing, and it just made me think,
they don't believe in what they're doing.
Yeah, like, on the face of it, it's like, but on the background, you guys are all friends. Like, you all probably talk about. So that's kind of how I liken the political system. They're probably all, I'm not saying they're all friends, but
same agenda.
Yeah, some of these guys, went to university together and stuff like that.
Who sits above MPs? You've got House of Lords. So any change has to go through the political system approved by House of Lords that are unelected.
Yeah.
So these guys sit above that and have so much power in the system in the UK, but they're not elected.
Yeah.
One interesting point you made, Ian, about these multinational companies not paying any corporation tax. I've got a very simple solution to that will never get implemented. If you earn money in the UK, it should get taxed in the UK. It should be as simple as that.
Yeah. Enjoying this conversation? Drop a comment with your favorite moment. Give this video a like and hit subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Thanks for being part of the journey. We've got plenty more valuable conversations coming your way. So, why do some people deliberately avoid pensions altogether? Do you see that as a smart control over your money, or just an unnecessary risk? I just love it. I just silent because he knows I aimed that question at him.
I'm going to fall out with this guy now.
Pensions, right? I'm over 50 years old, right? So I was brought up in a time where Enron pension scandal, BHS pension scandal, Woolworths pension scandal, Carillion pension scandal. People have been paying into their pensions their whole life and then they don't get the full payout. That's the atmosphere. That's the news that I heard when I was young. Then I'm young and I'm thinking, pension, is that not for really old people? That's like 1,000,000 years away. Yeah. So a 20-year-old back then doesn't quite think, 50, 20, 25 years, 35 years ahead. So for me, pensions back then was not a priority. Then I lost all of my money in the stock market. I used to do a lot of trading in the stock market. And after I lost my money, I thought, you know what? I'm going to control every single penny I ever earn. And for that reason, I don't have a pension.
Okay.
What I would say is that for some people, I think it depends on your risk appetite. Yeah. You obviously are very high risk. Yep. You do business. You are happy to put the money in at the risk of it going because it will grow.
I'm comfortable with my skill set in terms of taking that money and making it work for me.
Yeah.
I don't need to delegate that responsibility to someone else.
Some people are not like that, and I think if you're able to, if there's a lot of people in corporate jobs, and even not in corporate, who earn a lot. With the pension, obviously, your employer will contribute towards that. So technically, that's free money. And most tax efficient way to get that money. The only thing is you can't get it till your pension age, which is, if you're someone who's young, that works in your benefit. If you're now 50 and you're thinking about that, you have less time to be able to recoup that money. So I think it just all depends on your risk tolerance. If you know you are riskier, and you know that money can work better for you doing stocks, doing business, doing something else, then absolutely go for it. But if you want stability and you're not someone that likes to dabble and risk your money, then I think pensions is a smart option. I owned a nursery about 8 years ago for about 4 years. And the median age for my staff, minus the manager, was about 23. As a responsible employer, I tell you there's a pension, do you want to opt into it, opt out? All of them opted out of it because they, similar to what you said, they don't see themselves. They're all 20, 21, 25. They're not seeing the pension that they're going to be needing at the age of 60, 70. They're thinking about the here and now, which I understand. I've done the same thing. But we do have to think long term with everything that we're doing. The manager, who was about 50, she obviously opted into it. So, yeah, everyone is different.
Yeah. Ian, what do you think?
I thought it was going to be more controversial. I agree with him. I agree with Ajmal on what you said. Actually, if you've got the skill set and the ability to build wealth outside of that, crack on. Absolutely crack on, and you'll get probably more benefit, if not more than that. But as part of a vehicle for Joe Public and everyone else, is a very effective strategy to build long-term wealth. The challenge that we've got is, but the vast majority of people probably don't really start taking their pension seriously till they've gone past 35. So 35, 40, then all of a sudden it's like panic button. Every client I've dealt with over the last 20 years, nearly every single one of them has said, I wish I'd started sooner.
Yeah.
Because you just kick the can down the line. I did the same. I didn't start really as a financial advisor for 20 years of experience. I couldn't, my lifestyle was built the wrong way around initially, and I had to change that to then be able to afford the pension. So it was early 30s, I think I started really taking it seriously, and I've got to play catch up now to be able to do that. I've got a business, so I've got other things as well. Most people don't have that. The education gap is massive.
That's it. Yeah.
It's huge because I still see people, and depending on which platform I post on, right? So I'd say Facebook is one of the very first social media platforms that there is. So there tends to be an older age group within Facebook. You will very rarely get anybody under 25 that uses Facebook. The comments that I get on any kind of pension post on there are absolutely nuts. And there was a 1-2 weeks ago where a lady said, why on earth would I have a pension? I'm just going to save all my money into the bank and save that until I'm ready to retire, and I'll do that. Yeah, that is insane, because you missed out on tax relief, you missed on growth from your employer as well. That's huge. Yeah.
You know, I think there is an element of lack of education. Like, what is in your experience, what's the maximum contribution from an employer that you've come across?
Well, like some really good employers will double, if not triple, your contribution. At some big national, multinational firms, I've had clients that say, I put 5% in, and my employer puts another 15% on top of that. Yeah. You've got 20% of your salary hitting your pension every month.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's excellent. What does that look like in 35 years' time? I think if I had access to a little bit more education back in the day, maybe I would have tilted towards education. But even now, I'm not seeing any education in terms of, here, you put in 5% and the employer puts in, say, for example, 10%, that's 15%. Over the next 30 years, it's going to look like this. And if there's more of that type of education, it could potentially persuade or sway people to look into it.
Do you know why there isn't?
What?
It's because the financial services industry let millions of people down by not delivering that education. As financial advisors, and I am one, and I'm not anti-advisor, I'm anti-crap advice, and I'm anti-greed, because a lot of advisors will take the position of, well, I'll tell you that information, Ajmal, but it's going to cost you $2,000. You'd be like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Or I'll come and do some educational stuff around your pension scheme at work, but it's going to cost you X amount of money. I get it. You've got a business. You've got to make money. You've got to look after number one and your family. Okay, great. But when you've got to that point, And the regulatory system has let millions of people down over the years by not delivering that education. Something's got to change.
Yeah.
I heard that they're inputting financial literacy now into the curriculum in schools. So I think if they can do that and it covers pensions, even at the age of 15, I think that would be really important and a good start for children to go and tell their parents, oh, Mum, I learned about pensions at school. Do you have one? Do you know what it is? And then that conversation will then kick off.
But if your parents don't know that, and your parents,
I know,
it
starts from there.
I come across people like that all the time that have said, actually, all these pension scams that have happened, I'm not going to touch it. And if you go to your parents and say that, be like, listen, son, don't touch that. Pensions are a waste of time because of X, Y, Z. Like, who are you going to believe? Your teacher or your parents?
But at least the foundation is at least being set.
Like, some of it will go in, right? And it will have a positive effect on a lot of people. The challenge that I have is like, right, if you reflect to when you were at school and you excelled at a subject, did you excel at the subject, or was it because you had a great teacher?
Great teacher.
Yeah, great teacher would probably,
So the pressure on these teachers, which I think is unfair, is actually these teachers have then got to go and deliver this education piece to these kids. Some of these teachers are struggling to put food on the table. They're struggling to understand their pension, manage the finances, manage a 50, 60, 70 hour week on top of it. And now all of a sudden you've got to teach kids about taxes and money. That's fundamentally wrong. It needs to be funded properly with the right kind of input to have the impact. Otherwise, it's just pissing in the wind again.
It is. Education is super important. And actually, Ajmal, as you were saying, like, in terms of like any company I've joined, they've never really spoken to me about pensions. They'll ask you like how much you want to contribute. You'll get your initial welcome letter, and that's where it stops. You get no more information. They don't even prompt you. It's not like I even get a reminder of it every year. Oh, check your pensions. Are you in the right? Nothing. It's like you kind of left to your own devices.
I genuinely think it should be compulsory until the age of 45, 50.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I think you mentioned it, Ian, as well, in terms of like financial advice. I feel like if more people were educated and more people had more money, wouldn't it benefit the financial services industry, because more people have the amount of money that they would want to manage, right?
It would benefit the pension
right?
funds, like the big players who are going to do these occupational schemes for like the big multinationals or even small businesses. They'd benefit absolutely 100%. Financial advisors wouldn't benefit from that. Because
you don't think so?
I don't think so, because there's less and less of us in the industry. The average age is 58, so more and more people are dropping out. There's not enough people coming into the bottom. And what that means is that rather than the wealth gap getting smaller, it's getting bigger. Because all of a sudden you're sitting there saying, well, actually, I don't really need to deal with clients with less than 250 grand.
Yeah.
Because one, it's not worth my time because of all the regulation and work and everything that goes into that. And secondly, I need to make profit as a business to put food on my table. And I genuinely believe that's why the whole creator space has opened up as well, because these guys talk about like managing your finances and your money on a consistent basis. And absolutely, I think that is the bit that closes the gap. I don't think it's financial advisors.
Okay, cool. So I'll move on to my next question, which is around the stock market. So similar question. Is opting out of the stock market a genuine path to independence, or is it quietly one of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to build wealth?
Ajmal did it and he's all right.
Opted out.
You did opt out, and you still opted out, right?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
Wow. Okay, talk to me. Actually, we spoke about this, but talk to me. You're absolutely not a fan, right? Okay.
Not a fan, unless you put it in a tracker fund for the FTSE 100 and put the money in, invest it long term for 10, 15 years. You might win, or you could win. There's a high chance you could win.
Okay.
If you're thinking short term, you might as well pour your money down the drain. And that is straight at day traders. You do not make money in day trading.
Okay.
What did you do? So you were you said you lost loads of money.
Yeah.
Like, can you like, how did you lose it?
So I had £30,000 saved up. I was 27 years old, invested in the stock market. I was an expert. Like, you hear these day traders now, they really know the stuff. I really knew how to trade, and I made good money. 30,000 went up to 40, 50, 60,000. That went up to 70,000, 80,000, 90,000. I'm an expert. I'm really, really good at this. So I thought, went up to 150,000. But it's all paper money. It means nothing. It's all paper money. And then .com crash, down to zero, lost it all. Sorry, not before that, sorry. One trade, I was trading at I was doing £20,000 trades at a time.
And leveraging it, were you?
Yeah. And then on one trade, I lost £3,000. Easy. Ajmal Mushtaq. I can make that up. Chase that loss. lost some more, chased it to the point where I lost all my money. And at that point, I realized I'm never going to invest in the stock market again. That was a form of gambling. Serious gambling. And in those days, I would be out with my friends and I would have to stop off at a phone box because we didn't have mobile phones back in the day. I'm on the phone to TD Waterhouse to do a trade. And it was like a form of gambling. I had to lose all of that money to snap out of it. And I'm glad I did. Because now I see all these day traders going down the same path. They're all going to
I agree.
lose.
I don't think day trading is good at all. But I think in everything, I think the different pillars of wealth, they all are interlinked and they all support each other. So property, stocks and shares, pensions as well. I think everything, if you look at it long term, I think it's important. S&P 500, it's gone up. If you look at it historically, 10%. But if you look at even the last 3 years, 15 to 20% on average has gone up. So there is money in there. If you look at it long term, exactly, long term there is. And that's of everything. Every time I talk about property, I say marathon, long term. Right now, stagnated. Give it a few years, it will meet the same trajectory of being doubled every 10 years. So
how comes you don't do the investing portion? Because on my channel, we don't, day trading is a no for us, but it's long-term investing. But how comes you don't look at the investing part of things like the S&P 500? I'm just curious to hear your perspective of it. Is it because of that loss?
I just put that money, and that loss was a painful loss. It was a form of gambling. I don't want to do that. You're putting your money into someone else. They're making the decisions. They might do well. They might fail. We don't know. But if I control all of my money, at least I'm in charge of it. And I make safer bets, such as putting the money into property. And property is always long-term again, always an appreciating asset.
I understand.
And much less risk.
So for you, it was more about control and you knowing that, if I'm going to do well, it's going to be on my... I get on to make that choice. If it does bad, it's on me. But at least I can... It's based on what I'm doing. All right. No, fair. Look, it's always great to hear unconventional because you're successful, right? You've become a millionaire through it. So it's not that your way hasn't worked, but it is interesting to hear as well from your perspective. I guess, Ian, what would your challenge be back to that? Do you have a challenge back to that?
Do you know, like, every time I sit down with them, I like him even more. I mean, yes and no. Like, I think as financial advisors, we do a great job of convincing people to invest. So pre-2012, when I worked in banking, we were salesmen with a financial advice title, and our job was to convince and educate clients to be able to invest. The education stuff was very, very good. The sales pitches were also very, very good. That then changed, so we could no longer educate clients before we had that conversation with them, so then became more of an advice model. But the sales stuff still exists. We shouldn't be convincing people to invest money if it's not the right thing for them. For example, if I sat down with Ajmal and kind of did the old financial advisor process that I go through with a client, I'd probably be saying to him, do you know what, you're doing exactly the right thing. And far too often, there's sales targets and pressures on these financial advisors to deliver targets and meet these things and expectations, and putting pressure on the wrong people to invest. I remember when I was in a bank, I came out of a meeting with a lady who was, I'm going to say, in her 70s, a little old granny, let's call her, typical little old granny, came in, had a chat about your money. I was being observed by my boss at the time. He was in there because we had to have observations once a month. He was sat behind me. We had did a traditional fact find meeting, found out a little bit about her money, what her plans were, all this kind of stuff. I said, you know what, probably the best thing is just to keep it in your savings account and you've got it liquid. I came out of it and he roasted me. He's like, what do you think you were doing? That woman could have invested. You should have been telling about the price of gold, this, and I was like, hang on a minute. You're telling me I need to sit and lecture a 70-year-old woman about the price of gold, what the FTSE's done, what the Nasdaq's done, what's this, and try and convince her, yes, that's what I would have done. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not you. And I had a real disconnect with the industry at that point, and that was the beginning of the end for me in that space. That's why I wanted to do it differently and look at it from a holistic perspective. Exactly like you said, Jules. It's about everybody having their own path and looking at all of the options that are available to them, not just saying, give me all your money and I want to put it in a pension. That's just nonsense.
It's not the only thing. And I wouldn't say put all your money in the pension because you also want to live life now. You want to enjoy a bit of life,
advice
right?
out there, I'll be doing that. If you've got a grand a month spare, you'll be trained to be able to say to you, I want that grand a month from you. And I want that into your pension. That's
bad.
Crackers.
It is. Okay, so running a business is tough. Invoices, receipts, tax deadlines, it never ends. I used to spend hours digging through spreadsheets and receipts just to figure out where my money was going until I started using Xero. Xero completely supercharged how I manage my business finances. Before I was constantly second guessing my numbers, now everything's accurate and automatic. Invoices send themselves, payments sync with my bank, and I can see my cash flow in real time, all on a single platform. What I love is how simple it makes everything. Xero takes the stress out of bookkeeping, freeing up the time to focus on growing my business instead of being buried in admin. Xero even makes managing bills easier, showing what's due and when, so I can stay in control and avoid unnecessary late payment fees. And when it comes to tax season, everything's already organized and ready to share with my accountant stress-free. It's honestly like having a digital finance assistant that never sleeps. If you're trying to scale your business or just stay on top of your numbers, this is the software that could actually save you time and sanity. And because I use Xero myself, I've got something special for you. As of filming this podcast episode, you can get 90% off Xero for 6 months by visiting xero.com/savvy wallet or clicking the link in the description and start supercharging your business with Xero. Moving on to property. So we talked about, the difference between property then and now, right? Rates are higher, a bit lower now. They've definitely gone lower. We know that there are, landlords are under pressure. Julianah, do you think property is still a viable starting point, or has the ladder been pulled up, do you think?
I don't think it has been pulled up. I do think it's still viable.
Okay.
It may not be as, the accelerator may not be as quick as it was back in the day, but I still think it's a viable option. With everything, like we said, property is still a great pillar of wealth if you look at it for the long term. Everyone needs housing. No matter what happens in the world, COVID, credit crisis, bank collapses, people still need a house over their head. They need somewhere to sleep at night. So houses will always be something that will always trend upwards because it's a necessity. It's not a nice to have. It's something that everyone needs. So I think property, it's still a great pillar of wealth. It's still something that I think everyone should get into because it will go up. The economy will need to be stimulated. Like I said before, they will drop interest rates. It will boost demand. People will be able to get borrowing better than they have rates right now. So I think it's something that people should still look into because there is still wealth in property.
Okay.
And property abroad as well, not just UK.
Okay, cool. But how do people, because we do know it's more expensive, so how can people figure out that getting onto the ladder? I know you mentioned before the deposit issue, which is an issue. If interest rates go down, we know who benefits the most from that. Absolutely. It's not the everyday person.
Absolutely.
Generally.
Yeah. Right.
It's the people who have, oh, wow, interest rates have gone down. I've got the money. Let's, so how do we, if that situation does happen, how can people, navigate that for themselves personally, that everyday person? Everyday person.
So I'm a big advocate of sharing the pie. I think people shouldn't necessarily always buy alone. Two heads are better than one. If, for example, you're a couple, you are married, you have siblings, people who you can trust, I do always think if you can get onto the ladder, even if it is with someone else, get onto the ladder because eventually that will appreciate. And with property, especially if you're doing the investment side, I always say it's not just about the property going up. You get paid twice through rental and through the property values going up. So if you can stay in it and hold, you will reap the benefits later. So my answer would be to do it with someone if you have the ability to. And even if you do buy by yourself, don't always think it's just about you. Get a lodger in. Some people are it's my property, I don't want no one to live with. Get a lodger who can actually help you with the bills, help you with the mortgage, to help you not be losing all your money on this mortgage just because you want to be a property owner. Get the help that is out there. Look at the government schemes. Look at the lifetime ISA. I know they're going to get rid of that.
But they get rid of it?
They're going to get rid of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. And change the scheme to something else. We don't know what it's going to be, but they're going to change it.
Everything's going.
Everything is
gone.
Yeah, that went and they replaced it with this. Lifetime ISA is going to go. They're going to replace it with something else. I don't know what that looks like, but anything that you have availability to get, that's £1,000 free for every £4,000 you put in. Any way you can help to get money to expedite that, do it. But my thing would be start early. People who have properties, they didn't just miraculously come up with 25 grand. They started small and started early and saved it, either if it's a high interest account or something to make that money work and grow better for them. Start early, start with someone if you have the ability to, and get the right education. But property is absolutely still a viable vehicle.
Ajmal, I want to hear your views because Ajmal, you're on property a lot as well.
Long term, play the long game. But the young people nowadays have got a conflict. They're looking on the internet, and their buddies are making millions of pounds overnight. And over here, we're telling them to play the long game in property. No, that doesn't sound sexy. So the correct answer, in my opinion, is property is very viable long term, but my fear is the young people nowadays just don't have the patience to play the long game.
The patience.
They want a Lamborghini right now.
Yeah.
So
They don't want to wait 20 years.
False Lamborghini that someone's rented
Yeah.
to film
Yeah.
a video with as well.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
But that's not going to get better. That's the problem with social media. It's not going to get better. Now you, dare I say, you got AI videos. So now people could be faking it properly to you. You might not even really, you might have not even rented the Lamborghini.
I
Now you
think-
can create one.
do you not think the trend has changed? I think in the 2010s it was Instagram. It was very polished and very Lambo and fancy houses, Dubai. But I think this decade, I think people want more authentic videos.
Yeah.
It's the guys that are just holding up the phone, filming themselves in a regular background,
Yeah.
no makeup. Those guys are popping, and the celebrities now seem to be
Adopting that.
struggling.
Yeah.
So I think maybe, hopefully, there is a shift towards just being a bit more
More
authentic.
authentic, yeah.
And education as well. Even little things like this now, this conversation, the amount of guests that you have, Adso, in terms of the Savvy Wallet podcast that are educating people on things that they may not have realised or spoken about or learnt at school.
Yeah.
Situations and podcasts and education like this, I think, is paramount for the youth now to understand the other options, that there's business, that there's property, that there's
Yeah.
finance and vehicles that they may not have clocked onto before because it wasn't available. It wasn't readily available. You would have to pay, like you said, Ian, for someone to teach you how to save your money and invest it in the right way. But things like this are free, and this is so much value for people who are watching. So even for you, Atto, like, big up to you. Because this is actually helping a huge amount of the generation to learn.
We try. I mean, look, patience is, I think, is important. But I always say to somebody, if you're trying to accelerate that, then you have to be business owners like you three. If you're trying to accelerate, I personally think, because I don't think, okay, stock market, I wouldn't say to somebody, I'll say invest, but it's going to be long term. If you try to do it short term, you're going to burn
Nothing is
yourself,
short-term, yeah.
likely. Property, not that you can't do it short term, but unless you're coming with a lot of money, how are you doing that short term without the skill, right? So then it leaves business. And I'm not saying business is easy either. I'm saying if it's in an area where it's like, where you have the skills, then it's more likely that you can
Totally agree.
accelerate. So that's what I think. If somebody's really, truly, not that you can't do it in your career, but even your career takes a bit of time.
It takes time, but I
Takes
think
time.
you can grow also with people who start in their careers. The only trajectory you can go is upwards. You can get promoted. You can go do sideways. And there are a lot of corporate jobs and even non-corporate that you can make a lot of money in. And it's less stress. You do your 9 to 5, you go home and you can sleep.
Yeah.
People like us who are doing businesses, we're still up from 5 to 9, 9 to 12, still working. So if you want the less stress, less time, corporate working in an actual job that gives you a high salary could actually be better for you if your risk tolerance isn't high.
I don't know, the career thing, you know what I've learned? They work just as hard. The more, trust me.
No, in the
If you're-
corporate
it's
world,
okay,
agreed.
it might have changed, but recently, if you're on that 6 figures, I know they're making you justify that.
True, but it's guaranteed.
Okay.
Paycheck is not
So you're talking
when
about
you're
guaranteed.
guaranteed
Guaranteed
stability.
income.
Every month you will have the same amount of money in your account.
Okay.
Not everyone can do it. Not everyone can put.
But even that,
no.
but what you're doing for the guarantee, the per hour might be less than what you'd get in business. Because you'd be expected to do 12, 13. You're not going to be clocking off at 5.
Yeah, but
getting 120K for sure. I know that.
The expectation as a business owner, though, it crushes people
Yeah,
It
it's a
could
lot of
do,
pressure.
yeah.
every day. Like,
Are you laughing at me?
and I did something on social media about how you take money out of a business in the most tax efficient way, and I got called every name under the
Oh,
sun.
is it?
Oh, you've already paid 8.75% tax. You're the downfall of society.
Yeah.
I'll not even cover some of the more colourful 4-letter words I was called. You shouldn't be using the NHS. I bet you send your kids to school. Blah 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 blah. But like somebody else chimed in with a really good point. I don't get sick pay.
Yeah.
I don't get holidays. Every single day that I get up to bed and turn those
Yeah.
lights on in that office and come to work, everything is on the line on day one. I could have a bad month and not pay my bills at the end of the month when you first get started. It's a reality. Like, if you can't cope with that pressure and that stress,
do
then
it.
have a job. And there's nothing wrong with either of the
I don't
two.
think there's
agree.
anything wrong. I just think that I would definitely like us to have more of the US mentality. I go there, these guys are, everybody's like dual something, job, entrepreneur. That is very, I do agree that if the pressure is like too much for you, but I also do think that, so one of the things that I always regret is I wish and I've said this on a podcast a lot, I wish I took more risk when I was younger, because that was a time. Lived at home.
How old are you?
I'm in my 30s.
Come on, man.
I'm in my 30s.
You can
No,
still
I know
take
it's still
risks.
young. No, I am taking risks, but I'm saying I wish
Started
it
earlier.
was better then for me too, because I was living at
Yeah.
home. I had no rent to pay. Okay, yes,
major
I was contributing to the
outgoings.
rent, but it's not what I'm paying out. I had
Absolutely.
no mortgage, right? So that was the time for me to
Clock in.
just go and do crazy things. But instead, I just, not necessarily, a corporate worker is not a factory worker, but it's similar. I just became, okay.
Potentially lose
Just
the
kind
lot,
of
lose the
doled
lot.
myself into, not that I wasn't working hard and trying to go up, but I just doled myself really.
Okay, which do you think is easier, being an entrepreneur or working in a corporate job?
Okay, because I do both. I think entrepreneurship is more difficult because you have to figure out more things. You have to figure out the marketing aspect, figure out how to make money, sales. So you have to figure out all those hats to get some sort of success. Whereas in your job, if you're skilled at that thing, then you do that. So that's what I think. But I think once you become skilled at that, the good thing is, I think, not that it becomes easier, but then you can start outsourcing. So entrepreneurship, I don't think ever becomes easy,
Right.
but I think you can make it easier for you once you outsource some of the stuff. So you outsource sales, marketing, stuff like that.
think
But you
that
always have to
becomes-
deal with the challenge of making money,
Does that
though.
not make it harder though? Are you relying on other people then? Like on day one, like when I started, it was just
Yeah.
me. And I had to do everything, and I was crushed on day one. I was like, I've got to do the marketing, HR, the whole lot. And I'm like, what am I going to do? I've been a financial advisor at that point for 14 years, and I'm thinking all I'm doing is the same job.
Yeah.
But on day one, I sat at my desk, and I was absolutely crushed. And I was sitting there thinking, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to do to get the next client in? And I like literally just total panic. Shut the laptop, went out for a walk with the dogs, came back and right, just one step at a time.
Yeah.
I'm a
Then
big advocate of
as the business grows and you get expectation, like you were saying earlier, Ajmal, it's like you've got other people involved and then you're relying on other people. And like I regularly go from just keep it simple, me in the bottom of the garden with my other half kind of doing other stuff, to take over the world and go for it and see how far you can get.
Yeah.
And there's very little in between.
yeah.
It's very easy to get seduced into that growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where the headache comes in.
Yeah, that's where the headache comes
There is
from,
nothing, and I see this all the time. See if someone's got a nice little business, there is nothing wrong with that. But so often people get, myself as well, so often people just get seduced into this. They've got to achieve more.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make them any happier. It just brings on more and more
brings
headache.
on more
Comparison
problems.
game. Yeah.
So if a young person has £500 a month to put towards building wealth, how do you think they should approach it?
So I think there's a few ways around it. If you have £500 a month, what should you do? You should look at something that can actually make the money work for you. So if, unfortunately, you won't be able to get into property £500 a month. Property is a high barrier to entry. Property kind of rules you out. So you need to look at something that would make that money work better for you in terms of the stability of what you're doing, not letting that money go lower. And then looking at how you can actually make that money.
What would you do if it were you? Let's say it's you starting again from scratch.
I
and
would
you
do
had
business.
£500.
I would do business. I wouldn't
Okay.
go into property.
Okay.
What
would you do with £500?
500. Look at a business, business that can actually grow. So look at the demand. Look at what are people doing? What are people looking for? Before offline, we were talking about a podcast studio. Can I invest in someone who's doing something like that?
Okay.
So not necessarily use the money for myself. Look at other people that are doing something and use that money with what they're doing
Okay.
to make it grow for me. Because it's not everything you should do by yourself. Sometimes actually get other people to help you.
Okay. So
So,
you would save
yeah.
that money and then you would then look to partner up with somebody.
Look to partner up with someone who's got more expertise and experience than I do.
Okay, but it wouldn't be property, it would be business.
Because £500 is not going to get me nowhere
Okay.
with property.
So then what's the minimum that somebody needs to get into property as a first timer?
As a first timer, you need a 10% deposit. So depending on where you're living. If you're living in Yorkshire, for 100 grand, you can get a 3-bed house. So you need
10 grand.
10 grand.
Okay.
So you got to get that money
Okay,
first.
so 10 grand. Okay.
Yeah.
Ajmal?
If a young person came to me and said, I've got £500, I would tell them, take it to the bank, put it in a savings account and forget about it. Then go back into the real world, earn another £500 and stick it in the bank.
Okay.
And just repeat that over and over again
Yeah.
until the money accumulates. Because see, when that money accumulates to £3,000, £4,000, £5,000, all of a sudden, you've got a few £1,000s in the bank and you've got options. You could put it into property. You can invest a more sizable amount into a business, like start off on a small scale. But £500 is going to get you nothing. £500 won't even buy that tripod in this world. So I'm a big advocate of put money in the bank and just leave it there and just save as hard as you can.
Okay.
Especially when you're young, you're living at home, and don't get seduced into buying the designer gear and the flash watches and all the trendy gear and all that type of stuff, because it's just a way of losing the maximum amount of money that you can. It's not good.
Okay. Let me reframe my question. So, okay, £500 a month after a year is £6,000. After 2 years is 12 grand. Mm-hmm. Let's assume this person saved, as you mentioned, and they had 12 grand. What would you do at that point?
12 grand, I would say put it into a property.
Okay.
Yeah.
At that point, you put it into property.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
up north, I'm guessing. Yeah. They ain't getting no 12.
Not in London.
Not down in London.
Yeah. But around Glasgow area, that's where I'm from. I can speak about the Glasgow market. You can still get a 1-bedroom flat for about 80, 90, £100,000. So that and you mentioned 10% deposit. You can get there's mortgages, correct me if I'm wrong, you can get with a 5% deposit.
Yeah, even in my day, there was,
Exist,
yeah. So you could potentially get 2 properties with that.
Wow. Is that
no, 2 properties for 12,000. So a £6,000 deposit on each flat.
Wow.
I would put it into property.
That's a lot of travelling though.
Save hard and put it in property.
But still, at least you have an asset.
But then you can move to Glasgow and the weather's always nice there.
Is it?
You know what? It's not the worst idea. I think it's not the worst idea if you can do it to move, because I think mobility, people forget that's an option for us.
Yeah, you're not.
And if you can move somewhere else in the UK, that's going to be cheaper for you. You're there stacking for a few years and you want to come back down south. Actually, you might have been better for it.
So I use agents for all of my properties, and I can't even remember the last time I actually visited a property. So even if you're London based or Yorkshire based and you've got a property at the opposite end of the country, I appoint some agents to take care of it. They'll get the cleaning done, they'll get any repairs done, they'll get the boiler repaired, they'll look for the tenants and get them credit checked, and they'll get the tenants in as well. So you physically don't even need to be there very often.
I'll re-ask you, because now it's 12 grand. What would you do?
So I'll put into property. So the thing is, the only thing is, if you're looking at a property that you're not living in, so actually buy to let, it's got to be 25% deposit. It can't be 10. So you won't be able to get 2, because you're not allowed to get 2 residential mortgages. Yeah. So if you are getting a property that is 100 grand, you need 25%, which is 25 grand. So you still need to save a few more years to be able to get that money, because 12 grand will be okay if you're living in it. And it's residential, and it's your 5% if you want to do that. But if it is an investment, you need more.
Yeah, 25%. But does it make more sense for people for it to their first to be residential rather than?
That's what is normal. Yeah, that's what would normally happen. Because if, for example, you want to get a buy-to-let property, you have no collateral behind you. They can't take anything from you, the bank or the lender. So they're much more stringent and less likely to lend to you if you don't have any buy-to-let.
Okay.
So that's why I would always say get residential before you look at getting
Plus you can use
investment.
It, right?
Exactly. You can live in it.
It's an asset that you have.
Exactly.
Ian, what about you? What would you do? 12k.
I probably wouldn't let it get to the 12.
Okay. You wouldn't.
No, I would. Like, I'm a big believer in the education part of it.
Right. Okay.
Like, educate yourself on how to manage money, how to manage your finances, whether it, like, all of us manage our finances incredibly well, I wouldn't be sat here.
Okay.
I've had times that I haven't, of course, and probably everyone else has as well. 150 grand lost on the stock market. I'm sorry. But, like, educate yourself on how to do it. Like, follow creators in the space about how to do it. If you're interested in getting a property, follow some property creators. If you're interested in entrepreneurship, follow some entrepreneurs that are doing this, that are doing things ahead of you. Invest in that education, books, courses, and just build your skill set. Because I think if you can build your skill set over a 2-year period of getting to that 12 grand, you spend 6 on your skills, you are going to be in a much better position to understand where your path's going to be with the 6 grand that you've got left.
Yeah.
And over that time, you will have opportunities. I think Henry Ford said the phrase, the harder he works, the luckier he gets. And I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would education all day long and skills first, and then figure out the rest of it, especially if you're at home in your 20s. Like, just do a little bit extra on an evening, spend a little bit of time, because you're sitting there on Instagram anyway. Why not spend a bit of time looking at stuff that's going to help and support you and make you potentially the person that retires at the age of 40, or the one that changes your generational wealth?
Yeah, I agree.
Here's a question for you, Ian. You go on the internet, every bloody guru is selling a course. How do you decide where to put, how do you decide what course you should buy?
That's hard.
Yeah.
But Google reviews for a start. Look at other people that are doing it and don't just base it on a snap decision. Because these guys that run these courses have got really sophisticated sales funnels that will try and entice you in and commit to it and kind of put money into this stuff. But the reality of it is, like, do your research and don't jump into anything straight away. If it's a low entry point course, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not any good.
Yeah.
Like, I've read books that have absolutely changed my life that cost less than a tenner.
Yeah.
And you've probably done the same.
Yeah.
Like, that could be your starting point, and they could be like, well, that triggers off something else, and then what's the next bit, and what's the next bit?
Yeah.
You could, like, get a notebook and journal this stuff and write it all down and just reflect on it.
I think mentorship's also really important. So if there's someone that you know that has done what you want to do, learn from them so you can avoid the mistakes that they made.
And a lot of the time people can do it for free. Like, I've had young financial advisors reach out to me and just be like, listen, I like what you do. I want to get in the industry. I want to do ABC. What would you suggest? I'm like, let's have a call.
Yeah.
I'll give you half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour of my time. We'll just talk.
Yeah.
Like, that can just set someone on a path, and you're given 20, 30 years of experience to somebody. Like, reach out to people doing it.
Absolutely.
So how much of the 12K would you spend on education?
I'd probably go with probably at least half of it.
Really?
6 and 6.
You know, a lot of people listening to this won't do that, right?
Oh man, absolutely. Like,
6K.
it's not, like, I'm a massive
Wow.
investor in personal development. Like,
Okay.
since for the last 10 or 15 years, and it started with a book, and it was called "Who Moved My Cheese,"
Oh, yeah.
which is a really simple book, and I'm like, oh, I've never read a book like that before, because up until that point, it was textbooks and stuff that I was never a big reader, and I read that, and I'm like, oh, that's quite interesting. Then it became Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Then it was other bits on top of that, and then it just got to a point where I'm like, listen, I've got spare cash now. I'm going to invest in skills, in courses, qualifications, and just keep building that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I've done, but a lot of people don't. I get it.
Yeah.
And it's information
6K
overload at
though.
times.
Gosh.
Like if you get it in the right, stuff, the best investment you can have is in yourself.
Okay. Wow. 6K is crazy. So if I was to ask you for the best way for somebody to build wealth, irregardless of like what their income is in 2026, what would you all say?
The best way to build wealth.
Yeah. For them to think about that. It doesn't matter what their income is, for them to work towards building wealth for themselves. What path, choose only one path, what path would you say that should be? Especially given where we are in society. Obviously, like I mentioned, taxes are rising a little bit. AI is, disrupting things. What do you say?
It would have to be either property or business.
Okay.
I think business, like we mentioned before, is probably the fastest way to get it. If you get an idea and you get it right, it can go viral and you can actually be a millionaire. There are so many millionaires that were created during COVID because people just had to knuckle down, sit and work on what is my skill set? How can I monetize? Because I can't go outside. How can I monetize the skills I already have? And then property, I think, is always going to be a pillar of wealth that I think you have to invest in. So I would say a bit of both.
Okay. So then that means we're kind of omitting jobs, being in a career. Are we saying that's out?
No.
Or are you worried that...
In business, you still need people. In
True.
property, you still
That's
need people.
true.
You need builders, you need mortgage advisors, you need solicitors.
I would argue, do you need people in business?
You can do
I'm
it
playing
all.
devil's advocate,
You
but
can
I'm
do
doing
it
that
all,
on
but if you want to
purpose.
scale, you need people. You can do it all initially, I think, and grow and
True,
learn the
but you
business.
need less.
You need less.
Yeah.
But I think, similar to what Ian said as well, you
Yeah.
always need, after a while, you need someone else to help you grow what you've already established.
Yeah.
I think AI is going to change that. I think it's already changing that.
It's already
It has-
changing
like
it,
one
honestly.
of the questions you said, like a disruption in AI over the next 10
Yeah.
years. 2. I think within 2 years, our whole world is going to be incredibly different to what it is now because of AI.
Yeah.
But I think the AI is not the first time that something has disrupted the industry. When the internet first came and the craze first started,
Yeah.
everyone thought, "Oh my god, the world is ending." It just enhanced it and made it better.
It did
AI
enhance and
came.
make it better,
I've
yeah.
got a few properties in Doncaster. When you go there, you see it's very heavy populated by coal industries. That's where coal headquarters were.
Yeah.
They've had to pivot and change because coal obviously is not, we don't use that as energy anymore. We use more upgraded things now. You have to pivot and change. AI, internet, that stuff changes industries, but it doesn't mean it can totally wipe it out. Even if you look at the film industry, we all used to go to Blockbusters to buy films.
Yeah.
We're now looking at Netflix and Disney. Blockbuster had actually the ability to buy Netflix, but they said no because they thought they were always going to be in the industry. They've missed out on a huge market. You just have to be able to learn how to pivot and adapt ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
When the budget came out, everyone's saying about landlords are now selling up and doing this and that. There'll be people that will be able to capitalize off scare landlords who are scared getting rid of their portfolio because you are ahead of the curve.
Okay.
Looking at EPC, they're making an EPC regulation be it has to be C by 2030. You know this. They've said this for the last 5 years. If you get to 2029 and only now you're looking at your EPC and trying to make it a grade C, you are behind the curve because they've given you enough notice to know what's coming. Just think and plan ahead, and I think everyone can honestly thrive, even with AI.
Okay. Let's hopefully by the end of this conversation, we could help people think about the curve. What about yourself, Ian, in terms of that question? What would you say for somebody thinking about building wealth in 2026? What's the one path that you would encourage people to take?
AI.
Okay.
Like 100%.
Okay. So what with AI?
I think the change in the growth that has happened in AI, even in the last 12 months, has been frighteningly quick.
Okay.
And that pace of change is only going to accelerate further. I would be looking at absorbing everything that you possibly can to do with AI, how to engineer prompts, how to write code, how to use AI effectively, how to build your own versions of AI, how to do all this kind of thing, because you're going to be incredibly valuable to people in a very, very short space of time.
True.
I went into a talk by Piers Linney, the ex-Dragon, about 6 months ago, Ideas Fest in Hertfordshire, and he was talking about the pace of change. About 18 months ago, when AI was started to become a thing, I was kind of looking at this and thinking, how much is it going to cost to get bespoke systems built? You're looking at 200-300 grand a pop at that time. Now the entry point for my business is a 5 grand setup and £1 a month, and I have the equivalent of 3 full-time employees working for me, doing all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
That's insane.
And he said within 2 years, that price would have dropped even further. Yeah. And I think it's just an incredible opportunity that a lot of people are sleeping on. And it's not that AI is going to take your job, but I think somebody with AI can do a better job than you can. My belief, as I get more and more into this, is that actually what's going to happen is it's going to make our lives better. And I think a lot of people have a better quality of life. Because actually the reality of a 4-day week might be real for everyone. You might have a 3-day weekend to be able to spend with your kids and your family and doing all these wonderful things. You might be able to start at 10 and finish at 4. That might just become the norm because technology does all that stuff. Yeah. It's not like going to get rid of your job, but it'll make your job significantly easier.
Yeah. Okay. So you think that the best way for somebody to potentially build wealth in 2026 is to absorb and have an understanding of AI and then try to use it in some way, whether that's like building their own business and then offering consultancy services, or actually getting a job and being like an AI specialist.
Just drop yourself into the world and just suck it all up.
Yeah. Yeah, AI is scary. The reason why I'm not the worry.
Because you've seen the Terminator films, that's why everybody thinks the robots are going to take over.
But it's because I use it so much myself, and it does get me to think like, okay, my newsletter, okay, do I pay somebody to do this, or do I just keep refining it and then it's perfect and I can and that's the questions that you're having across the board for anything that's around that, right? Like even if I think about, like, let's say I wanted to hire somebody to like create copyright for me, I'm not having to decide, okay, person, or do I get AI who can refine it like crazy, or I can say, okay, this is a good example and it can do that way better than anybody else can. So it's like, it's terrifying, but it's also the opportunities there. So I think, it's very interesting that you're saying that. What about you, Ajmal?
I'm boring. I think property, if anyone was to ask me, I would say property is a way. Long-term growth is stability. And that's my stance. Okay.
But what would you say is the risks in each of your approaches? On looking at the other side, where's the downside of your approaches?
People lose their jobs.
For property, the downside is short term, it's not sexy and you don't make much money short term, but where you win is in the long term. Yeah. I think when it comes to AI, people will lose their jobs, which is the unfortunate thing when it comes to, if you're looking at a con of business AI, ensuring that you get with the times digitally, it will take people out of their jobs. But like Ian said,
at least with what you're doing, you'll be more efficient.
Yeah.
And in property, like Ajmal said, you are illiquid initially. You're not able to use the money, but it's there for generations, which I think is the positive, and it outweighs the negative.
Yeah. What about you, Ian?
I'm quite blinking on it. I don't see a negative to it.
You don't see a negative? Okay.
Not at all. Like I think like maybe I've got rose tinted glasses on with this stuff, but I genuinely think you could get to a point where everybody's got a universal level of income and poverty no longer exists.
Do you not think that it stagnates your thinking though, because people don't think anymore? They just put what they think into a device, which tells them what to do. Which I do as well.
Right?
I get it, but at the same time, like if everybody hypothetically didn't need to think like that and could spend time with building emotional relationships and building well-rounded people and kids and having a wonderful life, and you know that all your bills and everything were going to be taken care of and you were going to be okay, you'll still have wealthy people, but poverty would probably not exist because it would do a lot of that heavy lifting. Like, I genuinely think that's a real possibility.
Yeah.
And it'll happen. It could happen in our lifetime.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a bit in me that thinks that I'm not motivated purely just because of money, if you get what I mean. I think there's a bit of me that would say I'm motivated because I want to also be the best version of myself. There's some people that I think that are driven just because they want to be better, not necessarily because of money. So what would happen to all those people? Because I've listened to Steve Bartlett talk about this as well. Like, what would happen to that person that likes to build or likes to work and stuff like that?
You can still do it, can't you? The opportunity is still going to be there to do it. You can still build those businesses and do those things.
So you don't think there will be bad outcome? It's true, there might not be a bad outcome out of it.
Why can't you have both? You can still have traditional work and then still do business on the side.
Yeah,
I think that's what a lot of people, to be honest, should aspire to. When I was working my 9-to-5s, I had the nursery alongside that, doing that still every day, and on the weekends going to pack up because it was a pack away nursery. You can still do both. You're not limited to one source.
Yeah. I think we should. Personally, I maybe I'm biased because I do too, but I think it's a good idea to try and do two. You know, you sharpen your
passion
skills,
and then the thing that pays you.
Yeah. I think it's amazing. So actually, on that note of us talking about, and it revisits our conversation before. So we're seeing like a K-shaped recovery where people with assets and leverage are pulling away, and I think this is happening more because a lot of those people are also using AI. And the same way that we talked about financial education gap, there's going to be a tech gap in a way for people that don't use it as much. So not only are we seeing them pulling away, we're also seeing wages stagnate for everyone else. Is the middle class at risk of disappearing, and how do we stop more people being left behind? Potentially, basically talking about your scenario, like Ian, how do we get more people into that utopia where people are not really being left behind and we're not having wealth gap widening and stuff like that?
I don't think you can.
You don't think we can?
I think it's always going to exist. Like, you look at history and how the classes have existed over a period of time in every single country of the world. They've always existed. I don't think that's going to change until you maybe get to that universal level of everybody starting again or having wealth at a certain level. I don't think that is ever going to change. And why would it? Because actually, from a fairly fundamental level, you want to be able to control the population. You don't want everybody going nuts and having a revolution every 2-3 years. Do you? You want that exists for a reason. I don't think it's hard to see how you can.
But how do we get more people there? Maybe we can never close the gap.
Into the middle class?
Yeah. So how do we stop the middle class from disappearing? Essentially, and that it's not just like really super rich people and then
it's really difficult with even the taxes that were announced in the budget and the stealth tax and them freezing the different sections of the taxes. People are scared to earn more because if they earn more, they'll get thrown into the next tax bracket, and then they'll be taxed even more. So, and that bracket where they're going to get taxed more, that is the middle class. So people now would not necessarily want to take as much of a pay increase. It's not meeting inflation, and they've stopped you allowing to stop the tax brackets expanding. So people are more scared to even make more money. And I think
that's
the
a lack of
taxes,
understanding as well from a lot of people.
It is, but with the government doing what they're doing, and I understand they're between a rock and a hard place, it doesn't encourage people to want to earn more money to become middle class. You're either going to be severely under and you'll get more benefits, or you're going to be at the extreme end and be at the end where you're earning a lot more money. So it's the bit in the middle where people are finding it really hard. Do I earn more money and get taxed more, or do I just stay where I am? People are scared to earn more because they're going to take it all off you anyway. So it's a hard question, but I think the government and the taxes play a big part in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what can people do though to get them over to the other side? Because there must be solutions for them, for
more
themselves
money in your back
individually.
pocket, right? Like even if you go to a higher tax rate, unless it's the 60% tax trap that you're talking about, and I agree with that part. If you go from basic rate to higher rate tax, and you go from 20% to 40%, look at the proportion difference on your income. You haven't just gone from paying 20% on all of your income to paying 40% on all of your income. You've still got your personal allowance. You've still got other allowances potentially you can claim for. Salary sacrifice, things like that you can do. But you've still got more money hitting your bank account every month. I had a conversation with a client this week who's doing incredibly well, got a great business, and she has led the phrase I used with her at this time is letting the tax tail wag the dog. So all of her decisions about her quality of life she's having with her and her son are determined by how much tax she's paying. She's like, well, if I take more money out of the business, I'm going to pay more tax. And I don't like the idea of 40% tax because my accountant says, oh, you're going to be paying 40% tax. Yes, you are. But the reality of it is your money is there for a purpose, and what you earn is there for a purpose to give you and your son a better life.
See, that's someone who's in business, though. The standard person who's working, getting paid, who gets the 3% increase because of inflation or whatever, they will get thrown into the next tax bracket without technically earning more money. So it's the employees that are suffering. The business people, they can talk to their accountants like me to say, oh, can you just change it, make the expenses more so I get paid less tax. When I don't have an option, that's where people are going to be suffering. The people who are trying to earn more. Yeah.
Especially with inflation. So that's my worry. My worry is that, and I think this is why people are in uproar. We've got these frozen tax thresholds. You know, our tax-free allowance hasn't really gone up
in many years.
But things are becoming more expensive. So what do you do? We say, okay, people should go into business, which I agree with. I think people should. But yeah, what do we do? Because the way we're going is like we're just essentially crushing people.
I think it goes back to education again, isn't it? Understanding your money. I get your point. Exactly what you said now. Absolutely. For employees, that's hard. But the education side of how you manage your finances and look after your money and try and squeeze every pound as much as you can when times are difficult, which is where we're at, that is so valuable. Yeah. But it's just not out there. Like like you said, if it comes in as at a national curriculum level, some of those kids will retain it, some of them won't. Like you might have a great teacher and all that stuff, but like there's still people so suspicious of the financial system. There's still people that keep 10 grand in a shoebox under the bed and stuff. You know, like until that changes, like this doesn't change, doesn't shift.
Yeah. Do more people need to take more risks then? Are we maybe too much in a risk-averse society in the UK? Do more people need to take risks to now build wealth versus previously, especially in the situation that we're in now?
Depends on the person's risk appetite, honestly. If you're not someone that will be palpitating knowing that you've got a business that you have to wake up to service, don't do it. Like it could cause you more mental health issues than someone who goes to job 9 to 5, gets paid every single month with no issues. So I think it depends on the person.
Yeah.
And the exposure there too. There's a saying that I'm sure a lot of people have heard: if you're surrounded by 9 billionaires, you will become the 10th. If you're surrounded by people that are forward thinking, that are doing things that push the boat and are a bit risky, you will know that they've done it, I can do it too. If you're on the safe route and you're just not thinking it that way, you will do safe, and safe isn't necessarily bad. So
yeah, I don't think it's bad either.
Safe isn't
but how
bad.
does somebody figure out if how did you as well figure it out that you were happy to take risk? How did you figure that out for yourself?
I think for me it was easy because my parents, they came to this country with nothing, so they had to physically go out and graft and earn the money. So I saw my parents risk everything into the business.
Okay.
So for me, just growing up, that was just normal. I just thought that's what everyone did. They put their mortgage in the line, they put their house in the line
Wow.
to try and survive in the business. I just thought that's normal, and that's what I did.
Okay.
So my risk appetite from just everyone, my uncles, my parents, everyone around us, all immigrant mentality. You come to this country, you work very hard, you save up some money, and you plow it all into the business.
Again, surrounded by the people that you're around. So mine was very similar but different. My parents came from Nigeria and came here, but then got to the mentality where they have to live hand to mouth. So because I didn't see the business acumen, the graft, the hard work, not that they didn't work hard, but they worked to ensure we have food on the table. That was it. So that is what I grew up understanding until I saw other people doing different, and then I knew there was different. So what you surround yourself with, I think, is just so important. And it's funny how your story is literally a replication of what your parents showed you. And mine is the opposite, built out of trauma. Of not having enough.
But having said that, I don't want to give the impression that I had an easy upbringing. My upbringing, me and my siblings, very, like all immigrants, it was very, very tough. So the parents would work very hard and put all of the money into the business, and the business was doing okay. It wasn't like amazing,
but they had a business.
But all of the money was going into that, and any profits were reinvested back into the business just in order to survive. What that meant in our house: no birthdays, no toys, no games, no days out, no nothing, no designer gear, being picked on at school for not wearing the right gear. So we were almost like brought up in a very, it was quite a tough environment. And I suppose that then shapes my appetite for risk. I don't want my children to be brought up the way that I was brought up.
Got you.
And I don't blame my parents. They had to do that. They made all of the sacrifices necessary to make sure that business grew. And for the first, my dad, I mean, he was in the restaurant business for the first 15 years. It was a struggle. It was a real struggle for the first 15 years. And only year 16, 17 onwards did he stumble upon a business that actually started doing okay.
Wow. That's incredible, but incredible grit as well. What was so interesting about two of your stories, and again, it would be great to hear your point of view, is to your story. So were you born?
I was born.
Okay, so you're born here. Okay. So, because I would say that both your parents took massive risks
To come here.
Even if that initial struggle, the end goal or the end outcome was that they took the risk and the outcome was positive. It's not always, we can't always say it's always going to be positive, but that was a risk for them, right?
Yeah.
Like
100%,
they didn't know what was going to happen.
But the difference is Ajmal saw his parents going to work,
but
doing the business, and like you mentioned the word reinvesting. You knew that they had money to reinvest. Mine was, there wasn't any money to invest. It was council house, it was free school meals. And that is what I saw, and that is what I thought was normal.
Okay, so you thought your ceiling was a bit...
It was diminished. It was absolutely low, because I thought, I said when I came last time, I thought everyone was given a house by the council. I didn't know you can actually have your own house.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was my reality.
Right. Okay.
Until I saw different.
Okay. If they listen to this podcast, they know what the reality is higher. We go for. Yeah, no, because risk is such an interesting thing. I do agree with you that people shouldn't take unnecessary risk and do things where it doesn't make sense. But also do think people should take a little bit of risk. Don't play it safe in life, especially when you're young, right? Don't do something where it's the extreme, like you're saying, where it's going to impact your mental health. But if you can do something a little, it can end up changing your life.
Absolutely.
Right? I'd rather somebody do something and say, okay, that didn't work out, than not doing it and regret it. Like, oh, why didn't I give it a real go? Especially in the society that we're in, where like you said, we've got AI, it can help you to do a business plan. You've got an idea, you can say, okay, pick up the holes in this idea. What could go wrong? Who are my competitors? Blah, blah, blah. You never had anything like that before. You had to literally try and figure it out yourself. So, like Ian, you were saying, this is an opportunity. But for those that don't take that opportunity, sometimes I feel like you kind of will leave people behind even more. And I think that's what we'll probably see, that people will be left way more behind, because those who are willing to take risk have more power. Now, in my opinion, right? You got AI, which is going to give you that. So
I think you need to normalize making a mistake and getting it wrong.
Exactly.
It's such a shame, attached to making a mistake.
Exactly.
That's inground to you from school.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you got 3 questions wrong. You didn't get 100% on your test. That's not good enough. You need to do better. And this is wrong, and that's wrong, and this is some of the biggest mistakes I've ever made. I look back on are some of the most valuable lessons I probably ever had.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like at the time, sometimes you don't appreciate what that's turning you into and how that's galvanizing you or turning you into the individual that you become further down the line. And we need to normalize making those mistakes. And I've kind of do it with my kids as well. I'm like, listen, if you're going to make mistakes and you're going to cock things up.
Yeah.
And our oldest one, bless him, he's at the forefront of it because he's like making all the mistakes for everybody else.
Yeah.
That's a different kind of pressure as well.
It is.
And then the second one, he's coming through and well, he's done that, so you probably aren't going to do that, or we'll react differently as a parent. Fourth one, she's got a great old life because everyone else is just cocking out. She's watching it all unfold.
Okay, so my final question to you all is, what's the one thing every young person watching this should start doing right now if they want to build wealth in 2026? Not even just young people, anybody who wants to build wealth.
Put your phone to use. Like, use your social media to your advantage.
Okay.
If you're going to be sitting there looking at dogs dancing and cats with hats on, like, listen, spend like 10 minutes of your day just looking at something that's going to be useful that could help you develop as a person, whether that is soft skills, hard skills, property, investment, entrepreneurship, stuff that you're learning about at school. Just spend a bit of time looking at it. And that was a real penny drop moment for me, because I remember sitting one night and looked at my screen time. It was like 4.5 hours for the day. This is years ago. And I'm like, how could we spend 4.5 hours getting myself better as an individual, and better as a person?
Yeah.
And I could probably generate money from this phone as well. Yeah. That's how I got into social media and started doing it. It was just literally from that. And you can.
Totally agree with Ian. Data. Look at data. What businesses are doing? What are they doing now? What is the demand? How can I get ahead of the curve? What do people actually need? I used to laugh at people when I was in college who'd done IT, because I was just like, oh, that's so geeky. But people who are doing IT now are the ones who are absolutely thriving. The ones who understand businesses, understand codes. Those are the ones who are thriving. Look at what you can do to better yourself. Not just now. Think of long term.
Yeah.
Think of the long term, and don't just think that you're going to be young forever, because the grey hair will come quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I think for me it's very simple. AI is the future. You've got to embrace it now. We're just at the dawn of AI, and I think no one really knows how it's going to transpire, how it's going to evolve. So I think if you're in that space just now, get ahead of the game. And then when it does evolve into whatever it evolves into, at least you're best place to capitalize on it.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Use AI to spot opportunities. I use AI to spot opportunities all the time, whether it's investment opportunity or business opportunities. I'll always ask, okay, so I'm planning to do this idea. What do you think? And it will just come up with. So I think it's a very useful tool, but remember, it is a tool at the end of the day. It's improving fast though. I mean, what are we on? 5.1, is it? ChatGPT.
Can I give you an example?
Yeah.
After this, I'm going to go meet somebody. We're working on a proposition for a business. Like, I can't say too much about it at this point in time. Like, I've used AI to run a series of reports and built them all together. Like, that report's 25 pages long on this business: strengths, weaks, opportunities, threats, porters, five forces, lots of different stuff built into this. 10 years ago, you would have had to pay a consultant $200 or $300 for that report.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I have just used the right prompt, the right information, and fed it into this system. And within half an hour, I've got that level of output.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And you haven't spent 300K.
Not at all.
Right.
We've got a really good snapshot and a base level of what we can do for this company and how we can help them.
Yeah.
And he's going to take us all to lunch with that saving.
Absolutely. I'll be waiting.
No, thank you all so much for really contributing to this conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing what 2026 is. We're recording this in 2025, but hopefully it's going to be, valuable to those people, especially those, really wanting to like change their lives. Ajmal, I'll start with you. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
On TikTok at Ajmal Mushtaq. Just be careful. There are quite a lot of scam accounts selling you crypto. I don't sell crypto at all. So TikTok is where I'm at.
Okay, amazing. Thank you, Julianah.
And I'm on TikTok and on Instagram, Property by Jules, and it's Jules is spelled Jewels.
Okay. Ian?
I'm on all of them. I'm a tart. So Ian Dempsey or ID the Money Man across all the social media channels. You can dig me out there.
Okay. And I'll start with you, Ian. What would be your final message to those, watching and listening?
Like, watch stuff like this. Like, just subscribe to this channel, watch it, absorb it. You will learn a hell of a lot just from an hour of a week of watching episodes like this, and then build from there. That's your starting point.
Thanks for the shout out. Appreciate you, Julianah.
The same. Educate yourself. Educate yourself on any sector that you're interested in. Educate yourself. There's so much information out there. I know it can be overwhelming, but just start somewhere. Start small, but start somewhere.
Yeah. Ajmal.
Same. There is so much free information. You can do anything in the world. You've got so much access to all of the videos, tutorials, you name it. It would be foolish to not take advantage of all of that free material.
Amazing. Thank you all again. Like, I really appreciate you. I should say this is our second time trying to record this, so I'm gonna say this on camera because, you know, thanks to all these great people for firstly pushing me to. It's not that I was gonna do it. It's just like it was getting crazy. But thank you again for just taking the time to come back and record this, because I think it's a very valuable conversation for everybody. And it's gonna really, really help them. And the impact is there. Like, I do get comments from people saying that, you know, this has changed my life. I've learned this. I've done this, and I've met people. Like, you know, I like connecting with people in real life, especially when I'm at events and I meet people. This does. So, you know, again, thank you for what each of you all do. Keep on doing what you're doing. And yeah, I wish you more success in 2026. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode, and we'll see you in next week's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, share your favorite part in the comments, tap the like button, and subscribe to the channel. Your support is really appreciated. We'll keep working hard to bring you more valuable conversations.